Run that back, turbo.
You can get the biggest Chanel back in the store if you want it. I gave him the drill, they set it up, I got him.
Hello, my name is Dr. Navraj, and today I am here with you to talk about my PhD research on air pollution levels. Now you might ask, what is air pollution? Well, I am here to tell you. Well, air pollution means the presence of compounds or chemicals in the air which are usually not present and may lower the overall quality of the air and cause extreme consequences to the earth and life as we know it. You know, this can be anything from factory pollution all the way up to just cooking fumes.
Yo, I've been seeing a lot of these videos about air pollution recently. It sounds like a real problem. Where does all this air pollution come from?
Well, Daniel, let me tell you, there's two different types of air pollution. There's point source and there's non-point source. Point source comes from things that are stationary, such as factories, refineries, power plants, even your home. Now, non-point source is typically automotive, such as cars, trains, buses, planes. Now, according to the University of Chicago, a study done back in 2016, 25% of all air pollution came from vehicles, 20% came from household wood/coal burning, 15% came from power plants and industries such as refineries, and 22% came from other human activities such as agriculture, farming, mass farming, and another 18% came from natural sources such as natural gas leaks or, oils.
Well, that doesn't sound good. So how does this air pollution affect me personally?
Well, did you know that air pollution knocks off 1.8 years of the average person's life expectancy? That affects everybody, even you.
Oh, I didn't see you there. I'm just here at Chaparral Village taking air samples. Chaparral Village is what we'd classify as a developed nation. Developed nations typically produce much less air pollutants than developing countries. For most of you watching this video, the quality of your air might not be a big concern because you live in a developed country. But for millions in developing nations, it's a problem that affects their everyday lives, and that's billions of people around the world. Oh look, a citizen of this developed country. Excuse me, sir. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions today?
Not at all.
What exactly are you doing out here right now, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm just enjoying the nice, clean, fresh air like I do every morning of my life.
And are you ever affected by the air quality in your area?
No,
It doesn't
So
put any
clean.
problems on your everyday life or anything like that?
not at all.
And has anyone in your family or yourself been affected by any respiratory ailments?
My family's been living here for 4 generations now, and not a single person has died from a respiratory ailment or anything to do with air pollution or air quality.
Wow, that's fantastic, sir. Thank you for your time today.
No
Have a great
problem.
day.
You have a great day.
Oh, hello there. We just crossed over into this developing nation from our developed country before. I've been taking air samples, and as you can see, instantly the air quality is noticeably much lower. Now all we need to do is really find someone who lives here.
Hey,
Jesus
man.
Christ, mate, you scared me.
Hey, man. Let me get it done on man.
Sorry, mate, I don't carry cash, mate, but you mind answering some questions?
Yeah, man. What's up?
Does the air quality in this country affect your everyday life?
No,
Mate.
but sometimes, yeah.
And do you suffer from any respiratory ailments?
Yeah, I got a stroke last week, and I got cardiovascular bronchitis. I got asthma. I got heart diseases. I got lung cancer. I got yeah.
Jesus,
I got
mate.
a bunch of stuff, man.
I'm sorry for you, mate. All right, well, thank you for your time. It was much appreciated. Would you mind stepping back a bit? But no, it was really nice to meet you.
Yeah, man. Hey,
See you later, man.
Hey, yeah, man. Hey, just get out of here, man. I gotta go clean my room. You know.
All right. Have a nice day, sir.
Man.
Ozone pollution is an air pollutant that negatively affects plants. An accumulation of tropospheric ozone can have a significant impact on plants. This gas blocks plant stomata, preventing respiration and slowing down the plant's rate of photosynthesis. Plant stomata is basically where, if you've ever seen like Magic School Bus where they go into the plant and it's basically breathing from its leaves. It's really cool. So ozone pollution weakens and sometimes can kill the plant by just suffocating it completely. This ozone that enters the plant through its stomata can also destroy plant cells. So it's basically like a cancer that kills the plant from the inside out. Conversely, thinning of the protective ozone layer high in the Earth's atmosphere by chemical pollutants can also damage plants by exposing them to high levels of ultraviolet light radiation. Particulate damage is among one of the worst types of air pollution. This is an air pollution of tiny particles that come from coal or cement dust, basically any kind of dust. And what it does is it causes a thin layer of film to be formed over plants' leaves, reducing photosynthesis levels and causes the plant to slow its growth. Some toxic airborne dusts, such as cement dust, contain chemicals that dissolve plant tissues. If you've ever seen a plant leaf decaying from the middle to starting from the middle of the leaf, working its way to the outside, that's from certain chemicals in the air that they suck in. Particulate pollution can also damage plants when it settles on soil because it absorbs toxic substances through its root systems. And in return, it gets absorbed into our soil and it can soak into our aquifers and affect us as well. The main pollutant that is caused from air pollution is acid rain. Now, acid rain forms with acidic chemicals in the air pollutants combined with water droplets in our atmosphere. And when that water condenses and falls as rain, it falls with sulfuric acid and nitrogen dioxide in it as well. And now these chemicals are very acidic, like it says acid rain, and they eat away at biological organisms. Acid rain destroys plant leaves and also soaks into the ground, damaging our soil and making germination for plants impossible. Acid rain also affects our agriculture and food supply by damaging the ground and the soil that our farmers grow our crops on. By damaging our crops and damaging our food yield, we cannot feed our civilians of the US. And this causes a lot of problems because without food, there's no growth in our society.
Not all groups equally share the burden of air pollution. People in lower socioeconomic areas often have it much worse. Factories are more likely to set up shop in these poor areas as the people often lack the resources and the knowledge to fight back, whether that be through contacting their senators and representatives or through the judicial system. Homes and schools located in much lower income areas are often in closer proximity to highways, and because of this, they're much more affected by pollution put out by cars and trucks. Children living in these lower income areas are also much more likely to develop respiratory ailments such as asthma. This is environmental injustice at its worst. Why should kids in these areas be given any less of a chance at a healthy life? Why should kids in these areas have to deal with the consequences of our actions? Why should these kids endure a lifetime of respiratory problems just so some CEO can add another zero to his bank account? Things need to change.
Habitat is a place in which animals live, including in and on the soil, as well as in the water. Some heavy metals, such as mercury, of course, can be transported in the air long distances away from emission sources, and just like humans, an animal's vulnerability to air pollution is affected by how it breathes. So whether it uses lungs, gills, like if it's a fish, or some other form of gas exchange such as passive diffusion across the surface of the skin. Now, along with just breathing air pollution also harms animals' food supply. So many persistent organic pollutants, or POPs, like the cereal, and other air pollutants affect wildlife by entering the food chain and damaging the supply and the quality of the food. Once consumed, many of these pollutants collect and are stored within the animal's tissues. As animals are eaten by other animals along the food chain, these pollutants continue to collect and increase in concentration. This process is called bioaccumulation. Top-level predators such as bears and eagles, among many others, are particularly susceptible to the bioaccumulation of these types of air pollutants.
You there, sir?
Yeah?
What are you doing?
Oh, I'm just lighting up a cigarette, bro.
Did you know that cigarettes not only harm you, but they harm the environment as well?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, cigarettes produce particulate matter, which can get into your bloodstream, my bloodstream, animals' bloodstreams, the ocean. It affects everybody.
Wow. I want to make a change.
Good.
Look, I know this video was funny and it has a comedic undertone and everything, and basically we just don't want it to be taken as a joke, because this is a serious problem. Billions of people around the world are affected by the quality of their air, and millions of people every single year are dying. When you look at a problem of this scale, oftentimes you think to yourselves like, oh, like there's nothing really I can do. It's like it's them that needs to change. But in reality, there's something that we can all do. It's more about small behavioral changes than these massive grand scale changes. So just try to find something in your everyday life that you can do to change it. Like just try maybe using less cooking oil, try using a car that doesn't have so much emissions, try carpooling, public transportation. There's a lot of stuff that we as individuals can do, and it doesn't have to be huge things. Thank you for your time.